What's up, man?
What's up?
How's it going?
So we're good.
Yeah, this is.
I have to start driving.
Yeah, I don't want to disrespect where it was. Utah Motorsports Campus.
Yeah, Utah Motorsports Campus, formerly Miller Motorsports Park, if people remember that or were around for that or whatever. Yeah, that's where we're at. This is our shop. Our shop being like myself, boyfriend, and roommate Neil, Glenn, and Cody. Yeah, this is like a hobby shop. Like we've done some work out of it. For the most part, we're just storing our race cars here, drift cars, whatever. And yeah, it's just a chill place.
Badass. And you are Nick?
Nick Stucky, yeah.
Nick Stucky.
Everybody calls me Stucky. That's like pretty standard, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. There it is. Larry says, "Sick shop, bro." That's what's up, man.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, we got a bunch of toys out here. It's fun. We get like, there's benefits to it. I mean, you get like a shop, like 10 track day a month out of it, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
I've never seen anything like this before.
I love it. Like it's amazing.
I roll up here, it's Flex City, like you're just comfortably chilling.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we in the summer I'll like ride a motorcycle out here, and it's just like roll out the drift car out of the garage and just hit the event, shred it. All your tools, spares, everything is out here. I don't have to load up a trailer.
That is obscene.
And then I can just like cruise home. And yeah, we come out here. It's about a half hour from our house.
Okay.
Basically in Salt Lake City. And yeah, so it's pretty relaxed. It's cool.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, what's the history? So you got an amazing shop here. We got connected because I'm traveling from Portland to Dallas, and you volunteered to be the third driver in the session.
You had a Facebook post, and it's like I mean, it was sim racing, and it's like or sim drifting, I guess, but I've done a lot. This is basically how I found, not really found it, but like as a kid in middle school, which that was like back in 2000 or whatever, computer sciences class, just surfing around for car stuff and whatever, I found drifting, like those basic like Yahoo GeoCity style pages, and it's like, what is drifting, whatever, and found it, thought it was sick. Always grew up kind of like with that influence of 80s like police chase, bank robbery movies where the cars slide around corners and all that junk, and it just seemed really sick to me. So yeah, I mean, I did what I could at the time, which was apply it to video games, which back then video games didn't even have it. Video games were like, I mean, even Need for Speed didn't have any kind of drifting or anything at that time. Right. But I found Live for Speed, saw that people were like, yeah, it's got like, it's a pretty good sim, it has a good dynamic, it had a great tire model. And so Live for Speed, got into that. That was S1 or Stage 1 is what they called it. Stage 2 came out pretty soon after, but yeah, I basically drove that until I got my license about 2007. Or sorry, no, 2005, got my driver's license. We didn't have drift events here. Basically, I went to like autocross. Like it was like I got my license, went autocrossing a week later, borrowed my mother's Subaru SVX.
What?
Yeah, like I went straight into racing. I knew what I wanted type thing. But it was just like, I also recognized seat time is seat time. And it's good to just get out there and anything. So I had a Subaru SVX automatic. Cool car. I mean, they're honestly rad, but
yeah,
it was just like her pleasure cruise car that she'd like zip down to Vegas in to visit my grandmother.
That's what you do. That's what old ladies do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're restarting. So yeah, basically, it wasn't until 2007 I did my first event. I did have an FBRX7. I guess that would be like my first drift car or like performance car or whatever. FBRX7, like mine was in 81.
Nice.
If I remember right. My boyfriend has another one now, and it's kind of cool that like I get to revisit that, and he's playing with it. But yeah, basically, I had one of those. It was like a $500 car back then, carbureted 12A, super basic setup, but it was fun. I don't feel like I really did a lot of drifting in that, just because it was like 2005. There was no info. Like nobody was cutting welding knuckles. It felt like, like 240 guys were.
Yeah. But
your information was super limited, especially when it came to weird cars like that, like the RX-7, where you didn't really have an option.
Yeah, you don't see those. You don't see those at all.
Yeah, like there's a couple guys. There's a guy with the yellow one down in Phoenix area, like Arizona.
Okay.
And then Cole's like messing around with his today.
Right.
But he's not super prepped. I mean, he's got like coilovers on it. But even then, like coilovers were unheard of. Like nobody had coilovers back then. You had like a Tokiko like spring strut combo and stuff, but like that was it. So my RX-7, yeah, it was a $500 car I found. It was kind of a junker, but like the motor was strong. Came with like Racing Beat springs and like Tokiko Blues or something like that.
Sweet.
And it was just like a fun little runner around town. I had it in high school, tinkering on it. Eventually I got rid of that, got into Miatas. Miatas were really what got me started in drifting. Just because it was like, I was already doing the autocross thing from 2005 onwards, and I was able to share that with my father. even though like he wasn't really a gearhead, he was into autocrossing or whatever. And he did kind of reveal finally at that point, like, my parents were never really into cars. I kind of just got into it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, he's like, oh yeah, back in like the 70s or whatever, I used to autocross like my Trans Am or my RX-3 or whatever. And it's like, where the hell was this info when I was like trying to get into this stuff? Like, why did you? But anyway, so yeah, we kind of like co-drove and did autocrossing a bunch. And so that's why I went with the Miata. And I basically had like a basic turbo Miata. It was like a 1.6 with a granny kit.
Whoa.
I mean, it was like a super basic, like it adds like 80 horsepower or something.
Yeah.
It was not a lot, but it was a good starter. It was a really well built car. So I had that thing like getting out of high school in 2007. That's when I graduated.
Nice.
And
we're about the same
okay,
age.
cool.
That's
Yeah. And about the same time, an event called GT Live was in Utah. And we didn't really have drift events yet here. But I just basically emailed, like it was just a kid out of high school, super dumb. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like emailing them like, you guys have a drift event. Like I know you're having a Falcon driver drift demo with like whatever, old school names like Ross Petty,
Yeah.
Takayano and whatever. They were coming out, but it wasn't a public event. So it's like, I basically emailed like, do you have the means? Or like, is there any way we can get an event out here? And so the guy was like, whatever, I'll chat with my friend, whatever. They got with Drift 101. Is it Drift 101 or what? It was Drift Day back then. Now they're Drift 101. They're still around. Takayama still does the drift school with them at Middle Springs. And they basically, loaded up and had a small event here. I think we had like 20 or 30 people, but that was like technically the first Utah drift event. And then after that, we had this little organization called Drift Enterprise, and they ran in Rocky Mountain Raceway. And I had, this basic open diff, turbo Miata, stock suspension. Eventually I got like coilovers on it and stuff.
I love the
like,
open diff too.
Yeah. But honestly, like my first event, I was able to like lead corners and stuff, and I think it was primarily because of my experience with Lift for Speed. I mean, at that point I was still nerding out and putting way too many hours into Lift for Speed. Like just hanging out at night, like running competitions with people on there and like doing all this stuff. Yeah, it was fun. It was just like basic. It was good.
Did you have a wheel or a controller?
Yeah, I had back then. Well, I started with a Momo, Logitech Momo, which like it's like a 270 degree wheel. It's not like a 900.
Sure.
Everything these days is like 900 degrees. But eventually I went to a G25. I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, that was like, I mean, the Momo helps, but like the G25 is like, oh yeah, like we're really in it now. Like we really have a real feel and it feels good or whatever. So
yeah, definitely.
That was fun.
That's a lot of old school.
Yeah, it definitely helped me out. But yeah, so that's kind of like my history, I guess. I've done a lot, like autocross and basically any new vehicle. I try to like just hit autocross or like hit the track in some way because it's just fun to test how that is.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
My first car was technically a Crown Vic. It was like an '87 old cop car.
Okay.
But I kind of recognized even at that age, it was like I needed daily to get to high school or whatever.
Right.
So that's what that thing was. And then the RX-7 and then eventually the Miata were kind of secondary cars.
Nice. I'm gonna check my cameras real quick.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Sweet. I need you out here, Larry, running cameras.
Come on, Larry.
Come on, Larry.
Could be a fun road trip, adventure.
Come on, bro. So we left off with the Miata open diff coilovers, and then what happened?
So, let's see.
Nice. That was awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I had that car from like 2007 to about 2013 or 2014, I think. And of course, like it went through various. I mean, it kind of sucked. It's tragic because I got that thing as like a 65,000 mile, perfectly clean car. It was built very boomer style. It was actually from some dude in Huntington Beach. Like that's how we found it. It was, it was.
I like that boomer build.
Yeah, it was very like just what you'd imagine a '90s Miata was. It had like Momo Ferrari wheels. If you look those up, they're like, oh god, what are they? They have like a 5-spoke design, but they have like a colored center cap.
Okay, yeah.
They're just silly. It goes with the name Momo Ferrari. Like they're just over the top for like 80s or 90s vibe.
Yeah.
Really kind of gross, but it was a funny car.
The ultimate collab.
Yeah, so I had that thing and built it up throughout the years. We started running a track out here called G1, Over1, and it was like this weird, I don't know what it was originally supposed to be, but it was like a training compound. Oh, that guy was not happy. I'm getting out of there. It was like a weird training compound where dudes, they basically, they train defensive driving. So like, had a bunch of Crown Vics. The guy had like gun courses, like shooting in vehicles. VIR does something similar for like CIA, but like, yeah, shooting from a moving vehicle and like doing pit maneuvers on cars and a bunch of weird stuff like that. But we found this track down near like Fairfield, Utah, middle of nowhere, sort of.
Yeah.
And we ran there for a few years. It was dirt cheap to rent. It was really nice. It was easier than this place. This place at the time, we kind of had a rocky history, and it was like, oh, your drift cars are like. It was basically the whole like skiers versus snowboarders.
Yeah,
in the 80s.
for sure.
Like they hated us, and so it was kind of a problem. So we bounced between like here, Rocky Mountain Raceways, and G1. G1 was like just super freeing, and we were able to do anything down there, so it wasn't a huge deal.
Nice.
So I ran there a while. I knew Brandon Wicknick, but that's where like I really started driving with Brandon Wicknick. Like that car was a little bit better prepped. I got steering angle eventually. I got like one diff, whatever.
Miata?
Yeah.
Okay.
So started running that, and he was, I don't know, he was impressed. He was like, man, you're like killing it, whatever. I started working for him a bit while he ran the Vegas Drift Pro-Am series with like Nick Stucky down there and whoever else. He was about the same time when like Horace Wing was running this Pro-Am series, and as well as like Garrett Nikolic, and they were all competing against each other. I was just kind of crew. I was doing like a lot of media for Brandon. I was just coming along and helping out, whatever.
Sweet.
But hanging out with Brandon a bunch, and that's where we started doing a lot of driving locally together as well. My first out-of-state event, I think, was like 2012. We, like Brandon and I, as well as a bunch of other Utah guys, basically got invited to go out to like Colorado Pikes Peak International Raceway. It was for this event called Triple Crown.
Yeah.
And that was like first competition, first event. I managed to end up in second place behind Brandon first. So we got like first, second, finish. It was a blast. It was amazing. I was stoked on that. First event being a podium kind of thing.
That's crazy.
But yeah, and I was just in that little like probably 180, 200 horsepower Miata, like super low power. Brandon had his JZ stuff, so he's like probably 450-ish wheel. Still, like R154s were like $500.
Yeah.
Now they're like impossible.
Right. Yeah. Don't even try. Almost.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much that. From there though, like I was driving with a lot of the guys. That's not gonna make it. I was driving with a lot of the guys and realized the Miata wasn't quite. It was a shorter wheelbase, and it wasn't quite like the kind of lines I wanted. Honestly, it could have been the lack of development at the time, like lack of parts, control arms, whatever. But it just to be able to match what the lines were doing in like a 240 S chassis, whatever. It just wasn't the same. So I started looking for an alternative. I basically sold that car, kind of bounced around like I had a cheaper street Miata, just NA. Messed around with that for a bit, and then a buddy was selling his 302 swapped S13 hatch. And so it's like a Ford Mustang high output, whatever guy.
Yeah.
Like a Fox body Mustang car. It was stock, but it was a well-caged car, like a really nice cage, well prepped. So it was missing a few arms, I guess, but that's easy stuff. So I swapped over to that guy. I think that was about 2014 or 2015. No, that was probably about 2013. Yeah, so I ran that guy for a few years. It was a good, reliable car, and that's where I started like traveling a bunch more. Where it's like, cool, I have a reliable car, and kind of you can group with like other people out in the state and like do real lines and all that stuff. Started getting heavy into tandem with that, and oh, that was a good one, like out the track.
So you?
But yeah, so started doing a bunch of that stuff. My first out-of-state event alone, I guess, or on my own, was going up to Medford, Oregon. Bash to the Future. I don't know what number. It's probably like 5 or 6 at the time.
Wow. Yeah, they've done a bunch.
Yeah. So Bash to the Future. Corey, like Zach Abercrombie. So it's like Corey Harris. I think he runs that place. He was running it back then too. But yeah, just like a bunch of fun guys out there. I started realizing that like Bash events were better off. Like with the Miata, I was doing some of the Vegas Drift Pro-Am stuff. I did a few of those. That car was so not competitive though. And it was like, Pro-Am back then, everybody kind of had this mentality of like, I guess it was kind of like X Games and skateboarding and stuff in the early 2000s, where it's like, that's your progression. Like, you just get into comps and like, you keep on going up these levels and levels. And it's like, it kind of sucked. Like, you hit this Pro-Am level, and then you're like, well, cool, I have my Formula D license, but I don't have the budget to run.
Right.
So what do you do? And everybody kind of just was like, all right, well, I'm out. Like, I don't know what else to do. I can't excel and go further. But so Bash events started kicking off, and like All-Star Bash was always a thing and whatever, but it really was like how I saw the drifting should pivot, I guess, to just like these fun big party events.
Right.
So Medford was that with Bash in the Future. started hitting stuff like they did another one at Hot August Nights eventually, and we went out to that. So Hot August Nights is like a big hot rod show that's been going on for like 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
That's out in Reno. Did that. That was great. Did what else have we done? A bunch of like the Garrett Boost Fest stuff down in like Phoenix, or I think Street Driven Tour. They did some stuff in Vegas. A bunch of random stuff like that. But basically, I just started seeing that bash events and 2-day events and party event style stuff was the way to go. So we started just traveling a lot more to that stuff. And the whole Take Luck team, like drift team thing, came from like bash events and team drift competitions coming up. It was just kind of like how we could coordinate as a bunch of Utah drivers, get glued together, have fun, and honestly just go party at these cool locations and meet cool people in the West.
That's fun.
And just, tour. It's like kind of a band, I guess. You're kind of just on the road with a bunch of your friends. We'd have like 3-car wedge and do all that fun stuff. But yeah, it was a blast. Did that for a while. It was about, I think, 2016. I traded that 302 car, which was like running, ready to go. It was very good chassis. I wanted a coupe though. I just like the look of the coupe and all that stuff.
For sure.
A local friend here had a coupe with a freshly swapped SR, like a S14 SR. It was like straight from a Japanese junkyard.
Dang.
And at that time, that was like where you could still do that, and the SRs from the Japanese junkyards were like kind of okay. Like now they're junk always. It's like they're beat on by Australians and then they sell them overseas, and it's like you're getting a trash motor at this point.
It's true.
And it's going to be like $5,000.
Right.
But back then it was like whatever. He did that. Questionable, but like let's see how it goes. He had some wiring issues, so it wasn't really running. So I traded my like running 302 car that was caged and really nice for that. It also had a cage. It was just a coupe, and it was SR, whatever. And I really wanted to get into those basics. I was starting to become a fan of like Nakamura's driving at the time and all that stuff. And I really, the 302, even though it's a stock 302 and I made like 250 horsepower, people had this thing like, oh, you're a V8, like of course you're fast, or of course you're whatever.
Right.
And it was like, oh, that's frustrating.
Right.
So I just wanted to go to a basic, easy SR. So basically it was kind of like a flex, and I could hot lap hopefully and whatever.
Yeah.
And actually get like back to those basics. So that car was like a basic cage. I still have it outside actually.
I love hearing all this history because I've never heard the story told from the Utah perspective.
Oh yeah, I mean it's weird because like I grew up always watching the California stuff going on.
Right.
Like
We all
stuff
did.
out of scenes, or, like a Club Loose or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Drift Mechanics, like the Atlanta scene and
Yep.
Andy Sapp and all that stuff. And it's like, man,
Or Seattle.
And it's like I wish we had that here. And it's like ultimately, like, looking back, we did, or I guess eventually we did, or I kind of had to build it, but like we kind of became a part of the scene that we wished we had out there just by building what we wanted out here. So it's cool. But yeah, it was always a thing. Like I tell people I used to want to move to California and get involved in that, and now it's like I built this huge thing here, and I don't want to leave. Like it's really cool, and I've got like this amazing scene.
Yeah, you were nominated to sit down and talk about it out here.
Plus, like being in Utah, I've noticed that we are actually like super central everywhere.
Yeah.
Like any of the coasts, it's all about the same distance. It's like a 10 to 12 hour drive tops.
Yeah.
If I want to get anywhere in the West.
Okay.
But some of them are as short as like 6 hours. Grange or Apple Valley Speedway, whatever it is like 8-ish hours.
Wow.
Orleans is only about 8 hours. Stuff like that. Like really, when you're traveling, that's not that bad of a road trip for a trip.
No, I was coming down from Portland. I was like,
Yeah, you're
I
like
got on.
12-ish.
Yeah, I think so. And then I came and got on Highway 80, and I realized we could get back to freaking San Francisco.
Yeah,
from
and that's
here.
the thing too, is like we're at the intersection of 80 and 15 here, which is like everything in the West.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. So Utah, Salt Lake, it's like a low-key like gold mine for that stuff. If you could travel a little bit, it's a great spot to be. And that's kind of why we like just jumped all over the West when it came to these bash events. We were able to just go anywhere.
That's amazing.
So where was I? So yeah, that S13 coupe, I got into that guy, and that SR lasted like a year. Like it was kind of like we got it running within a couple days. Oh man, I messed up. We got that thing running in a couple days. It was just like wiring issues, not too bad. But that car, it was definitely a motor that like sat in a junkyard for a little bit. Like one of the first issues that I had was like the water pump was dead. You pulled that off and you could see like the saltwater crust on like half of the water pump. Like it had just been sitting there with water just caking it forever.
That is crazy.
But yeah, like that was like, I think I got that car prepped for the first Super D Montsuri they did in like 2016. It was either that or it was No Coast Bash.
Right.
One of the two. Ran those events. No Coast Bash, by the way, is like one of my favorites. Like that's still the one I always travel to. That's down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Dan Rocket, Officer Dan.
Yeah, which one?
Officer Dan. Or No Coast Bash, you mean?
That's right.
Yeah, No Coast Bash. And that's like Labor Day weekend every year, but that's like an amazing event, amazing track. It's kind of underrated, or it doesn't have a lot of media of it, but it's an incredible event. He does like huge metal concert, does a huge like 100-foot bonfire. We'll do like last year we had this like insane inflatable obstacle course. We had like mechanical bulls and stuff. It's just a huge silly party.
Wow.
It's a blast, yeah. But yeah, so I drove that car down there, ran the SR for a bit, did like the Super D Montsuri. We had this gonzo guy from Canada, like Quebec area or somewhere kind of up there, Saskatchewan maybe. But he came down, it was like a 30-hour drive for them to get down to Grange. And then like the car was doing great as an SR, like I was having no problems, whatever. And then at some point we had I forget which Fast and Furious, but we were doing like an opening movie night thing for a Fast and Furious premiere here in like Valley Fair Mall downtown, not downtown, but like West Valley. And I just like tapped limiter once with that SR and it blew. It just knocked immediately and I was like, okay, cool. Well, that was like got about a season of SR fun. And that's that. And at the time, like it was probably 2016, 2017.
Okay.
I didn't have the budget to rebuild the SR at the time, and it was like right at the beginning of the season. I really wanted to still drive.
Right.
Brandon had. Well, I was kind of going through options. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't think I can build the SR that quick or whatever. And I was kind of clueless with like building motors. It's still kind of them. I don't really. I usually just use junk motors, but. Brandon kind of like he's a JZ guy. He pushed me towards 2Js, and I was like, what if I just ran an NA JZ like out of a nice emitter? Kind of started looking at it. It's like it's about the same power as a stock SR, which I was already on. I already had a short gearing, which was like a 4.6 rear end, which made it way more fun.
Dang.
He's tapping me into it. Okay. But yeah, 4.6 gearing and blah blah blah. Whoa, buddy. So
it's getting saucy.
Yeah,
it's getting saucy.
I ran that, or I decided like, yeah, let's go for that NAJZ. Let's see how it does, and put that in, whatever. And it actually felt amazing. It sounds like a BMW race car.
Yeah.
It like an E36 or whatever DTM car kind of thing. It just has that like nice smooth V6 or sorry inline 6 note.
Yes.
Started running that. It was super reliable. It never overheats. It has about 200-ish horsepower probably. Unfortunately, I had to go standalone, so I had to spend a little bit of money for that.
For sure.
But yeah, I basically debuted that at like one of the Bash of the Future events up there in Oregon. It felt amazing. It just drives super fun. It's a sick car, and it's just seat time in the city. Like you just get in it and take like 20 or 30 laps.
This isn't a coupe?
Yeah, it doesn't overheat.
Whoa.
And so that thing. Basically, I ran that for quite a bit. Like we did a video for a t-shirt brand called Super Tuner, clothing brand or whatever. They wanted like a big launch video.
Yeah.
And that Super Tuner video was really fun. It was an abandoned airport down in St. George, Utah, in the desert. Like Red Rock in the background. It's very, very beautiful. And we just got this airport and this crew of guys that were like into filming extreme sports like snowboarding or whatever, and a bunch of like red cameras, and they're like, yeah, just show us what you think is cool. Like we kind of have a storyline that we're gonna get some intro shots, but beyond that, it's like show us what's cool, and we'll film it. And so we had like 4 days and nights, just unlimited drive time, just like what is cool here. Did whatever we wanted. It's probably like one of the best times of my life. Like it was just an incredible experience. Had a blast with that. Like Brandon Nick, Jerry Johnson.
Yeah.
Blaze Potts kind of came up. Blaze Potts is a real name. I mean, he's in like Pro 2 now, I guess, or Pro Spec. But yeah, Blaze is a great guy. A bunch of guys like that, like just hanging out, having fun down there in St. George. And it just turned into this really cool video. Did that, whatever. Did a bunch of like other events with that car. It's just a smooth, buttery car that always ran. I never had a problem with it. It was always just solid.
Was it? Did you paint it or?
Yeah, yellow.
Were you a style boy? Were you a States boy? Were you
I look at it like the Super D guys, Super D Montsuri or like Animal Style, like they beat the hell out of their cars.
Yeah.
But they do have cool kits and they do have good fitment and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I want to be. Like the Final Bout stuff, they're kind of soft sometimes. Like some guys get it, some guys go hard, but like there's a lot of soft guys doing the Final Bout stuff, I feel like.
What is a soft like? What does that mean?
So like soft, like I don't know, they don't go hard, they don't
too much style.
Like if you looked at Final Bout at like Pat's Acres a few years ago, it was like lot of people's first event, it seemed like they didn't know how to drive, but they had these sick $40,000 cars, cool wheels and kits, but like, it was kind of like, what is this? I don't know, it was weird. But the Super D guys, I like that they do kind of have sick cars, but still thrash them and have fun. And it's like a paint job away from being good again, so what's the big deal? Like, paint isn't that expensive, it's not that hard. So that's kind of the direction I lean towards. I like having a car that looks cool. I definitely grew up when I found drifting in like that 2000, 2005 golden era.
For sure.
Love that stuff, like whatever, Hart Gucci and like the old school Dora 10 stuff, or Drift Sengoku stuff, or whatever. Right. I love that, but I still want to drive the car hard and have fun. So it's kind of a mix of the two. Like I like cars that have cool fitment, whatever, but I'm not going to stress banging on somebody's door. I like to leave tire marks. I like it to be fun.
Right.
And to me, you can always paint a car. You can always get new fiberglass. It's not a big deal.
I like it. It's a mixture of style. Like you lean towards style, but you also...
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, guys growing up, skateboarding and stuff, whoops, he just hit me, kind of. I mean, everybody wanted that like cool skate deck or whatever, but you don't want to not use it. Like you still have to hit rails, you have to fuck it up, whatever. It was still something that I don't want to be afraid to use it properly, but yeah, you're going to beat it. Not a big deal. Like this guy's view. Right?
He is digging on you. He is just getting after it.
Yeah.
Check this thing one more time.
But yeah, so I mean, I kind of lean to just like, I like style. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care if it's a legit body kit. Wheels, doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I love and I can appreciate. I've got like some work. Yards on the front of my wheel.
Dude, how do you follow the rep versus real debate?
I don't really care about it. I mean, like, run what you need. Like, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Oh, man. The people that do care are not actually out there drifting, in my opinion. Those are the guys that are on the internet just talking shit, but it doesn't actually matter. Nobody cares. I've never, like, ran a certain wheel and people are like, ugh, whatever, stuck up about it. But I also am the type that's like, I'll just let driving do the talking. I don't really care.
Right.
But I've never experienced that kind of like weird hate. It always comes from the internet, and that's it. I've never seen it in real life.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you can see a car, and I can appreciate that stuff, but you can see a car where it's like, yeah, this would be better with like legit wheels. All of my cars would be better with Works, SSRs, whatever. And I would prefer that, but it's like, we have budgets, and I can't afford that.
Right.
Can't afford that to a point. I mean, I've got like some Veilside sitting in a stack over there. There's some Works over there. I like collecting that stuff, but I get it on a deal. And these days, with how prices are, I'm not going to go out of my way and pay $3,000 for a set of wheels I'm probably going to destroy.
Right.
So, I don't care. Use what you need. It doesn't really matter.
I feel you. Let's see. So you're still in the coupe? And
yeah, kind of.
How did you get into the... So what happened from the coupe to the coupe outside?
The coupe, the downside is like, it's a caged car. And at the time, it's like, I kind of got burnt out with like, cool, I have this car that I can drive like once a month, maybe. And I have to trailer it to the track, and I have to get all these spares and load them up. This was before having a shop here, of course.
Oh, okay.
And like, a lot of the times we were traveling out of state and all that too, and it's like, kind of sucks. And so I started leaning into this whole like, what if I get a street car and I can just have fun? And at the same time, Wigglick and I we found basically like this avenue of, we had a car show locally here that basically they wanted ride-alongs, like drift ride-alongs, as a part of the car show. It happens out here at the track. It's called Import Spring Show Off. Originally it's like a Honda show years ago, but it basically has just turned into like a Utah big event, like Import Spring Show Off. And that's coming up like early June this year. I think it's like 4th and 5th.
Okay.
Great event. We do ride-alongs. It's like $20 or $25, I think, for like 3 or 4 laps. And we'll just take you out on track. It's the usual drift layout that we do here. It's just our pro drivers, which is basically just myself and Brandon, and we take you out in our 4-door IS300s.
There you go.
But yeah, when we first started doing that event, it was in my IS13. Oh, God. Oh. And at the time, it was like, it's still, whatever, like not a car made for that. It's not meant to hot lap that long. Like, you're still burning through tires like crazy, and you're trying to do as much as you can.
Right.
So these cars came up. Brandon already had one. He got like an IS for dirt cheap at the time. I found that thing, started setting it up a little bit, and it was like, cool, we could take 3 times the amount of passengers now, triple the money, kind of offsets those costs, and it's like, cool, we now can like pay for the tires as we're running, as long as we do it smart. Like, we still have to cool tires and like spray them with water after runs. But it's like, we've got a system down where as we're loading the next set of passengers, we're spraying them down. The lines for that got out to like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. Like we're turning into like an amusement park, right? Like,
Sure.
It's kind of sick.
Wow.
So yeah, the IS is basically built for that, and Brandon has a sister car, it's Baby Blue, that he uses for that. And more recently, like we did Oktoberfest out here. It was beer and beers, and that was like it went great. We had a ton of rides for that. It's just a fun experience, and we do like corporate events out here at the track. The track is in tight communications with me. More recently, I started the oppositelock.school. It's like www.oppositelock.school. But basically just a drift school out here. And that yellow car is the car, or one of the cars that I'm using. So
That's really cool, man.
but yeah, like that car kind of started as a ride-along car, sort of a business adventure, but like I could also just have fun with it and drive on the street and go cruise around. I road tripped it to like No Coast last year.
Wow.
I didn't have a trailer space, and I really wanted Cole to experience No Coast.
Yeah.
So and like his car isn't really streetable. It's a single cam turbo S13, and so we.
Sketchy.
Yeah, well, actually, it works really well. It's a
Does
really
it?
solid car. Yeah,
Okay.
it's still like a basic entropy tune.
Oh, okay.
Or a sympathy, super basic stuff like that. But yeah, so it wasn't a street legal car. His quarters are kind of pushed in because he's still learning and figuring out his wall dimensions and all that. But
You're so kind.
yeah,
To your
I
friend.
mean, you know, he knows.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. Like this year, we're gonna try to get him. Like I want to get my S13 going again with the NHGZ just to get trained on that tight tandem, getting to like entering on my door rather than like entering and then creeping up on my door type stuff.
Dang. You guys are that saucy?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like Brandon, I can do it, no problem. We do it in the drift demos with like 4 cars, which is interesting because like
Every guest is like,
well, it's interesting because like your weight changes every time. Like sometimes you'll get a heavy car with like a bunch of bigger people, and it's like the car is totally different than how it was last session.
oh wow.
So you constantly, and it's honestly like some of the most valuable drift time or track time, I think, because you're constantly getting this changing dynamic, and you have to adapt on the fly. So yeah, it's just something that you're constantly kind of feeling for and figuring out the car setup and everything is changing. Yeah, it's kind of a headache, but it's a lot of fun to be able to adapt like that.
I like it. Okay, cool.
But yeah, so the IS300, it's kind of like a mix of a fun street car. It's also now a school car. It's a ride-along demo car, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just something I can throw like a cool kit on it, throw fun wheels on it, go cruise downtown, go to car meets, still have fun with it. That was kind of the biggest thing that the S13 lacked, is that it wasn't a street car. It was kind of so far from it. It's hard to just go drive downtown or whatever. It didn't have lights. It didn't have all the lights, turn signals, horn, whatever. It was still a caged mess, and it was loud, annoying. That thing I can like daily drive, and I did for a lot of like last season, last fall. Just daily drove it out to the track. I was like daily driving it, coming here to the track, giving people rides. People were like, "Hey, did I just like see you in like West Valley or whatever?" And it's like, yeah, I kind of drive it home here and there.
That's fun.
So
Good deal, man. I'm gonna assess. Are you cool here? Do you want to go to a different track?
just switch it up. It's been a while.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Let me save this.
Yeah.
It gives me a chance to restart the stream. We peaked at 5 viewers. That was kind of fun.
Okay.
Make sure we save the replay.
Oh god. I'm not used to the brakes either.
Oh yeah.
You know, like pressing way harder than the Logitech guys.
Yeah, we got some aggressive spring action.
Yeah. It's like it almost feels like when you don't have a brake booster hooked up.
Right.
Which I had that a lot on the 302 car for some reason. Oh no, I gotta get used to this car too.
Yeah, take a couple lefts. You're all right.
Oh, you can just play it. People can see me struggle. I don't care.
Okay, cool. You're a beast for that.
Everybody struggles.
Everybody struggles. I like that.
Struggle bus. At some point, yeah, everybody struggles.
Absolutely. So
Yeah, this is fun.
that's your drift history. Is this so? This is a real track in out in somewhere, isn't it?
I mean, Lime
In
Rock.
the East Coast.
Like I know Lime Rock is like East Coast, but I don't know if this is like if it's
Is it
a
no.
proper track. I mean, I think this looks correct. I haven't really seen it in real life.
Me neither. So what? So let's see.
Yeah, where were we?
We were on
talking
the-
about like ride-along demos and the IS300s and stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. The S13 I haven't touched for like 2 years.
Oh, you still have it?
Yeah, it's outside. It's like the yellow and blue thing. It's like half wrapped blue
Okay.
because Brandon and I did some like film shoot thing for Blue e-cigarettes. It was like some.
Oh, cool. I remember that.
Yeah, it was like a what was it? A Instagram influencer like bucket list experience thing. It was kind of weird, but it was fun. they had us wrap our cars blue for that, of course, and yeah, we went down to Sandia Speedway, which is like where No Coast Bash is.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a gig set up by Dan or through Dan Crockett.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was just cool. But like that was one of the last events I drove that car in. I started focusing on the IS300, and that was also about the time that like I kind of chilled out on drifting, just because running out of state, like so many events and all that, it takes a toll. Like financially, you're just going through a lot.
For sure.
And it's just hard. I mean, I was doing like 7 or 8 events, sometimes 10 events a year out of state, and that's like $1,500, $2,000 each.
Yeah.
And it just stacks up. I think I did. So I worked at a tire place called Point S Tire. Well, actually, they're up in your area, Point S.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like Portland was the main warehouse.
Okay.
But I worked for them down here. I was like in their main warehouse. Customer service. It was like interior, like for the tire shops that I worked for. But
all right.
yeah, basically I was buying tires through them. It was kind of an employee discount. It was decent. But
Yeah.
like my highest year, I think I did about 120 new tires. Like I was burning new tires like crazy.
Yeah.
And that was just the new ones that I bought, like that I mapped off of theirs. Realized that, I mean, I was just like going nuts and like, I don't know. It was, all of my vacation time was going towards drifting. I never really had a real vacation.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, like, it's just, you get burnout. Like, there's a time where I had to step back and just kind of chill. And that's, I guess, what the IS300 was. It's like, cool, I can have this easy, simple, fun car that I can drive to and from the track, relax, and just, like, have basic modifications on it, and just, yeah, have normal fun. I started taking other vacations, and honestly, I kind of, like, started exploring myself and whatever. And,
There you go, yeah.
Like, dating Cole and all that stuff, and that's, like, kind of where we're at now. So,
That's awesome.
Stuff like that, yeah.
That's awesome. That's perfect context for like your hustles and everything.
Yeah.
And like it's a feat in itself to participate in drifting and keep the sport alive.
It is. I mean, yeah, and I still miss like traveling that much, and I still do. Like we did No Coast this last year, and whatever. Like No Coast, I pretty much always travel to. It's still good. It's just like I just wanted to tone it down a little bit. Hitting that many events and always constantly stressing and making every next event it was really hard. Yeah. So get to a point where it's just too much, and you want to experience other things and travel for other reasons than just drifting. So,
Right.
yeah, I dialed back a little bit on that, and just, I don't know, I'd like to get back into it at some point. I'd like to do it with Cole.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some kind of 2-car trailer or like hit the road and just do some fun stuff again. It's just that I'd like to do that with him, and yeah. So that's basically where I'm at. Yeah.
There you go. What did it take? So what kind of work did you have? Current hustle and side hustle.
Oh, so yeah, right now, I mean, I was working for a company that did like large LED screens for outdoor events in November. I left them though; it was just kind of like not quite the right fit, I guess. Still good terms. Like I was just chatting with him the other day. He's a good guy. He's out here at the track too. But yeah, basically, I started that drift school opposite Lock.
Okay.
Doing that, and I've done throughout the winter just kind of freelance stuff. More recently, I am now working for Ford Performance on their ST Academy or Octane Academy. I don't know what they're calling it exactly. It's like a Ford Performance where you're ending up playing with like the ST vehicles, like the Edge ST Expedition. They've got like the Raptor program. They've got some Mustang stuff and Fiesta stuff. I don't think they do the Mustangs out here necessarily. It's mostly like Raptors, the Edges.
So you work at a test center?
It's not quite. It's like a school.
Okay.
I guess experience. Like it's not quite. I mean, they do some instructing. They'll do operations where it's like an autocross event. Having people who bought these new cars basically run through their autocross layout.
I love it.
Show them the features of the cars and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just like gets me on track more and more. I'm able to be around that stuff more often. So I'm doing that through the summer. And we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll do it like next year as well if it's working good and it's a good fit. But
super sick.
it's honestly just like, I want to get away from the usual office jobs and want to make this more of something that I just do for a living. And it's also, I could still be kind of a free agent and take on other gigs, do maybe some of that older school stuff that I used to do. Well, we also do the ride-along demos and things like that too,
right.
as well as I've got the school where I'm teaching people. I'd like to just get into that more and more. But yeah, I'm pretty much just kind of open contractor, freelance, and doing whatever I want. I mean, a few weeks ago, I was like working on a film set, art department style stuff, just because they needed a hand and it was good pay, and it's like, it was fun, good experiences. So kind of just bouncing around and doing whatever.
I like it. I like gigging. So you've got media experience, you've got operations experience, you've got event experience,
yeah.
you've got
Lots of
technology
customer
experience.
service, like that's what like the Point S stuff was, and like I've always, growing up in Park City, it was always like heavy on hospitality, so I always had that in
Okay.
Worked at Rally Sport Direct for a few years. under like their retail customer service stuff. So yeah, done a lot of that. But yeah, it's just kind of like, I've done some like instructing and whatever with Gotham supercars and those kind of events too.
Right.
Yeah, lots of weird stuff like that. But fun experiences. So it's something that I guess I'm kind of just trying to go more full time into those weird experiences rather than it being like once or twice a year.
Now, how do you achieve that?
Experience and like contacts, I guess, just making names. Yeah, I mean, you've got like Jim or whatever that just came through here, and it's like I did some film gig for them, stunt driving their UTV behind the Pit Viper van, and that was like that was in October, and it's like every time you make an order now, if the order or when the order ships, it does this whole like your order is shipping, and it's got some 60-second or 30-second video of like us chasing down the van in the UTV with like guns hanging out and just trying to like hijack the van, I guess was like the thing. So we're like the, I don't know, hijackers trying to get the Pit Vipers that are in your order, and he gets away from us kind of a thing. So it was just like beating on this UTV and sliding it around this van and kind of running, not quite running tandem, but like, yeah, getting weird and like close to his rear bumper and like being aggressive on him. So
That's
stuff like
so
that.
Cool.
I don't know, I want to get more and more into that stuff. If I could get a SAC card, start doing real stunt driving, that'd be a lot of fun, but it's also just a huge mess trying to get into that stuff. Yeah.
I've heard that's the leap that some folks go, and I know that like that's what Tanner did, right?
Tanner
Faust.
Yeah, and I mean him, Sam Hubenet, they are really big on that stuff. Lots of guys. I mean, even Dan Brockett, like he found his way through that. I think he's done like a lot of Better Call Saul type gigs and stuff like that. But it's just hard to get into that stuff. Yeah. You have to like build those contacts and find a way.
The network gets way small really quick.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. So, what are your, so that kind of, again, you've got this flow thing down pretty well. You're flowing into the next question pretty easily.
I do like, whenever we do our stuff, I'm doing interviews, I'm doing like meet up with the news lady and give her a ride or whatever. So I'm like kind of used to that too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So the next question on the list is the Drift Dreams, and that's what it is. So you get to do cooler events more time?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like the YouTube thing is so cool, but at the same time, I feel like that ship has sailed for me. I see people grinding and like putting content out over and over and over, but it's like I don't know if it'll ever pay off at this point. I think a lot of people have established themselves and they're there, and that's unfortunate. And I'm sure like there's people that can prove me wrong, and there's definitely newer names coming up here and there, but I don't follow it enough to know, I guess.
Okay.
But it's just like that. It's really difficult. It's difficult to be able to dedicate. I don't know, what is it, like 3 days? I don't know how the algorithm works these days, but it's like you got to have 3 or 4 fresh videos a week, kind of, it seems like.
To be successful on YouTube?
Something like that. And like even then, you're doing that for 2 or 3 years before you're ever going to see a return.
For sure.
And it's going to be a small return, and it's just like, I don't know if I have the energy or the time for that among doing all the other drift stuff, and like, it's just super hard. So
I go back and forth myself.
Like, it'd be amazing to be able to do that, but for the most part, I don't know. I think I'm at a period where I just want to find whatever gig I can that gets me seat time. I love instructing, love opening up stuff like that, and even honestly, I think like a dream would be some kind of a stunt driving or some kind of an experience gig. I love doing the ride-alongs. I love the ride-alongs being that we can get somebody in our passenger seat. It's like Tony Hawk on a half pipe or like strung on a bike. You can't strap in and like go on those jumps with him and those backflips. Drifting is like we can get deep in that tandem and leave rubber tire marks on our buddy's door.
Dang.
And we've got passenger seats and we can take people with us.
That's amazing.
And so, I don't know, it's this whole really sick experience and we can bring people along, and I love sharing that. So I'd love to do, something like grid life ride-along experiences. Those are great, but it's not necessarily frequent enough to where you can make a living off of it. So I don't know, like my dream, I guess, is just whatever keeps me afloat to keep me drifting like this, whether it's a bunch of driving experiences or I'm just having a business in the background and running that, which is kind of what the whole school stuff is, and building content and like doing experiences for that. So, and the school really is kind of geared towards 2 folks. Like there's the people that I actually want to help train and get to be better drivers. A lot of our local drivers, I like to get that to where they're up to speed, and I want people to drive the way I like driving. I like aggressive, I like tight tandem, I like that really fun stuff, and especially like the aggressive, tight, like Naoki Nakamura or James Dean style tandems where it's really close and really like you're entering on your buddies rather than like sucking up on them gradually.
Right.
So I mean, anything I can do to like help others get to that point, but also at the same time casual experiences. I mean, the school is also kind of geared to people that just want to try it out. They don't necessarily want to pursue it. I don't think they will, but they do want maybe that photo of them driving a car sideways. They're never going to come back again, probably, but they get that experience. They get that satisfaction. It's just like Gotham Supercars, I guess, or a lot of those formulas where you can try driving that Ferrari. You're not necessarily going to ever own it. You're not going to hit the track again after that, or maybe not frequently.
I see.
But yeah, that kind of thing where you can expand and have people try stuff out.
I do think that's really important to get the idea of motorsports out to the normies.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm a little bit delirious as well. I guess less successful in the scene. I don't have a decade track record.
Yeah.
But I do. It's all I can do to like inch my way towards a consistent ability to get back into it and participate, but also see the growth of the sport.
And I love like just helping people and like getting people out there. And it's like it sometimes can be a pain, honestly, like dealing with so many fresh people and just like you're juggling that while also trying to hit events. But I mean, I've got so many people that are just meeting me here today because they want to check this out and see what it's all about, come in for a ride or whatever. And that's kind of why I'm like my phone's blowing up sometimes here and there, but we'll get to those people later. It's
perfect.
No big deal. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm gonna check this. One. All right. Perfect. So that kind of the widening the conversation out to the drifting and then motorsports and then car culture and then the EPA.
Yeah.
You've heard of them shutting down shops. You've heard of them shutting down JEGs.
A little bit here and there. Yeah, like I mean, I'm familiar with it. I honestly haven't read into it too much, and it's not like we're not a shop. I'm the type that like I never have really hired anybody to do anything. I mean, I had like Scott Chamberlain do my alignment yesterday, and that's great. But like little things like that are pretty much it. So it's like I have a hard time really relying on shops, and I haven't really done that myself. But I get the concern. I have many friends that are making their livings off of running shops and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. So no more motor swaps, no more standalones. They're trying to.
I mean, I get you there, and like they always have. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I'm as concerned about it, especially if I'm just doing stuff on track.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't read into it and like what the limitations are on that. I feel like I'm the type that is kind of adaptable. I feel like, I mean, just like if our restrictions may be tightened up and I can't register my vehicle somewhere, I will register it elsewhere. I will go through those loopholes. It sucks. It's not as easy, but that's always like my direction, I guess. I'll get through it one way or another.
Yeah.
Like I'm not quitting.
Right.
I'll figure out a way through it, but it does suck, and it's hard to fight that stuff.
Yeah, it's I'm right there with you, but then the door kind of closes behind you a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the problem too. Is like, and I've talked about that with a lot of people as well. Like, what are some cars that kids can get into these days? How can they have fun? Because it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other limitations is that people trying to get into this stuff are going to struggle. It's going to make it harder. It's going to give us fewer and fewer events throughout the years. It becomes more and more of a problem, which will affect me. Yeah, it's going to be a problem, but I don't know. I don't know how to exactly combat that. Like, it's just.
I guess for here today, I think, have you heard that living passionately is the ultimate form of resistance or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, I'm just trying to do me, and like, I know this probably won't last forever, both like because it's a super wasteful sport, honestly. Like, we are living in this golden age where if you haven't done it yet, get out there and do it, because I don't know how much longer it'll last.
Right.
And it sucks, but like even now, like, we're running out of vehicles, and there's not a lot of choices. I mean, the golden age was probably a few years ago, at least when it comes to vehicle choice.
Right.
Events, though, I mean, there's tons of really fun, sick events still that you can hit. It's just that, like, the barrier of entry to get in there, because the vehicles are so limited.
Yeah, and the price has tripled.
Yeah.
Of everything.
So it's like, I don't know, I'm really just like trying to do my best to do what I can, but I also like to expand my horizons. We do stuff like the Gambler 500, which is primarily a track studio.
Yeah.
And that stuff is just, it's a pivot. It's not quite the same thing, but it's still an adventure and it's still fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, motorcycles, I've been getting into those more and more. Like,
okay.
If drifting disappeared, I would be all right. I would survive. I would find other things, stage rally. I would get into sport bikes and hit the track. I would find whatever, but it would be a huge bummer, of course, too.
Do you have a message for the EPA, for the whatever agents are watching right now?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to vibe, man. I have no idea. Like, if some kind of an agreement where like track use could be formed, like, I don't know exactly the limitations. I haven't read into it enough, I guess. That's the problem. It's like, I don't know if this is something that limits track use or if it's primarily for street cars. I would prefer there would be something, maybe like a limitation, like if we had a fun car, make it so it's like you've got a limitation on how many miles you can drive a year, whatever, something like that.
Okay.
But you're never going to clock that properly. People are just going to plug their speedometer, stuff like that. So it's like, you're never going to fight that stuff in the right way anyway. It's all just a mess. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. It's hard because most of the pollution is not going to be related to people's personal vehicles. It's all going to be the huge companies, whatever, that are dumping tons and tons of pollutants and whatever else. That's the real issue. But they tend to get some kickback. They tend to get a little bit of leniency when it comes to that stuff. And for some reason, they crack down on the individual rather than the huge corporation. But that's just how that stuff goes. I don't
Absolutely.
know. I'm not super political on that stuff. It's just where we're at. I have a hard time feeling like I can make some change there. Just kind of trying to enjoy myself as it sits.
I see.
If it dries up, it dries up. It sucks, but
I see.
yeah.
I think it's an act of resistance to talk about it a little bit. Do you follow the Drift Jesus guy? He's very...
I've actually met him. He came through like last year.
Really?
It was like October. It was whenever the last Drift week was. Our buddy picked him up from the airport, and like we met him immediately after, and he wants to go straight to Denny's. But he loves Denny's, yeah. But yeah, he's got some opinions,
Yeah, I want to get him in that chair for sure.
Oh yeah, I think he's in the States or whatever. He's I was gonna say in town, but no, he's somewhere on the East Coast probably for Drift Week 5.
Okay. Who deserves a shout out?
I mean,
from your drift journey.
Salt City Drift, of course. That's our current venue organizer. Utah Motorsports Campus for helping work with us and put fun events on. Honestly, I mean, like I said, it used to be this big skier versus snowboarder kind of vibe or whatever, and now they're much more open to us. We have Formula Drift coming out here this year.
What?
Yeah, that's September, one of those rounds, and that's both Pro 1 and Pro Spec stuff. So that'd be really cool.
Here at this facility?
Yeah. And it's going to be on the road course. It's big. It's going to be, honestly, that's going to be the highest speed track in the series, I think. It's going to be like 120 mile an hour, 130 mile an hour entry. It's going to be kind of Pollock was testing it. He said it's absolutely the fastest. It's going to be really cool.
Faster than Atlanta?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because Atlanta, it's like you charge down, but then you have that tight 90. So it's like you're slowing down a bunch. This one, I think, it kind of does the same thing, but I think you're sustaining a lot more of that speed.
Is the layout released? Or is it unreleased?
It's going to be the clubhouse corners. I mean, as far as I know, it's released. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Well, no, because they're testing it and stuff. Yeah, they've been testing it. It's definitely released. We know it. So yeah, it's basically like 3 of the clubhouse corners over on the big track on the east layout.
Wow.
It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be fun having that carnival finally hit my hometown, my home track, and all that stuff.
Yeah, same. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, I guess tip of the cap to you for building this area into something that they would pay attention to.
I think it was primarily Terry Terry Henderson. He did like World Drift Series of China and all that fun stuff. He started working here at the Raceway under as a motorsports coordinator.
Okay.
He's a good friend of ours. Like we race Hot Wheels with him a bunch and do all kinds of fun stuff. Hot Wheels racing, yeah. Okay. Like the YouTubers that they stack up cars.
Yes.
And they go down tracks and stuff.
Yes.
He's got something similar in his basement, and we'll run bets and stuff. We'll bet cars and bet dollars and things like that. It's pretty fun. It's just hang out in the basement, barbecue, and just race Hot Wheels with them. So
there you go. Anyone else who's been pivotal?
Brandon Wicknick, of course, he's probably been one of my biggest supporters, and of course he's over on Drift Week 5 right now. Brandon Wicknick of D-Spare Garage, and he's a pretty big name in drifting. He's done the Formula D circus and all that junk. And
I like you say circus.
Yeah, it really is. It's something. Who else? I'm sure there's a million that I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
No
Cole,
worries.
of course.
Cole
definitely.
Brewer,
Partner. Just tons of people.
There you go.
Trying to think on the fly like that.
No, I think it's a thing for influencers or people to to, like
They get
remember
this roll call. Yeah.
Well, general discussion. Is there anything else? Anything you're proud of? Anything you're concerned about? Anything you're thinking on now in the past? Are there any humps the community needs to get over to grow? We were talking earlier about this difference between sim driving and IRL driving.
Oh yeah, like that's just like a weird, I don't know, how you feel. Like most people, I guess my opinion on this, or my theory on this is that like all I'm picking up on are visuals.
Right.
But if you're learning straight from a normal car, most people have, I guess, like the feel. I don't know. They're feeling G-forces. They're not going off of visuals alone.
Right.
But this, I am visuals alone. Like that's all I've got here.
Yep.
And I think that is the trickiest part. But at the same time, coming from a sim racing background and then going to real driving, I have that extra advantage, I guess. I can go off of just visuals on a car rather than I have to feel for it. I have to feel out where we're at on the track or how it's, I don't know, how weight shifting is going on in the vehicle. I think it's beneficial, and I mean, definitely if you can get good at it, it's definitely beneficial just for seat time and like learning how different drivers kind of react to different situations and being able to avoid, like here I can bump into people and it's no big deal. I do try, I mean, if somebody spins out in front of me or we're in a train or whatever, I try to pick the area that I can escape and get out clean because it's still good practice just for that alone. Real life, like you'll get stacked up with a 5-car train and somebody messes up, you gotta pick your escape route. And it's kind of tricky to figure that stuff out. But it's nice to be able to play with it in this game and kind of, learn good escape routes, learn stuff like not locking up the brakes and just plowing in to a wall or somebody else when those panic moments happen, which, I mean, that happens a lot in real life where they're not necessarily hitting the person that messed up, but they are avoiding it and messing up and doing something totally different, but getting in a bad situation.
Yeah. What advice do you have for IRL drivers who are coming to sim driving and maybe having a hard time?
Oh God, I don't know. It's tricky. I went the other direction, so it's hard. Like, just have fun with it. It's just like real life. Like, just have fun with it. Practice should be fun. Like, if you're having fun practicing, it's never really going to feel like practice.
Right.
I mean, if I were like practicing soccer or baseball or whatever, I'd always be like, oh, this isn't a game. This sucks. It's boring. Like, it's lame. But like drifting, I don't know. There's always new challenges that you can find. And that's kind of what I'm doing, I guess, anytime I'm out there as a driver. Like, there's certain things, like that track that we have out there in the paddock, it's like, there's certain things I want to hit and nail and do certain stuff on certain features, like a backheat or whatever, scrape that wall. And so I have goals out there. I have goals lined up in my head that it's like, I want to hit this. Whether anybody cares or not, doesn't matter. I'm out there to kind of do it myself.
Yeah, I did some technical stuff. I saw the D-cell S-turn and into like some hairpins, and then you open it up for some long boys and everything else.
It's good. So we'll go out there pretty soon and run it. But
Perfect. What do you think, I guess the last question I have is, what do you think about the realisticness of something like this? Because I've had critiques.
So, I have a theory on that as well.
Okay.
Well, growing up, like, I played Live for Speed, but I also bounced around to, like, literally everything. Like, I did Gran Turismo 3. That was my first drifting experience, I think.
Right.
On a controller, of course, like PlayStation 2. But, like, did that, like, Forza Motorsport, like, 1 through all of them, I guess.
Right.
I kind of did a little bit of all of them. 4 was, of course, the golden years, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think actually I was kind of obsessed with just, like, anytime there's a game with cars, drifting, like whether it's Grand Theft Auto or it's like an actual sim or whatever, like I'd always want to just drift cars in games. I actually think the adaptability is kind of what makes it interesting. And I think it does pay off because I can hop in almost anybody's car out there, at least if it's a kind of capable car, and make it happen. And I think sim racing is actually more so about adapting quickly than it is being realistic or being perfect. It's never going to be perfect in my eyes, but being able to adapt to weird setups or different modded cars that a lot of the people that mod these cars have never actually driven a car in real life, you know?
Oh man.
Stuff like that, where it's like, it might feel good, it might feel right to a lot of the pros or whatever that are driving in these games, but like, I don't know if they're actually 100%. But a lot of it's just, adapting and being able to figure that car out on the fly and what feels best to you. God, there's so much smoke here.
Right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it actually in games is just adaptability, and that's kind of the biggest benefit that you're getting out of sim racing.
And
also, I guess that's another thing is like I've seen a lot of friends where they get in these games and they're like, I don't like this, like I gotta mess with the setting. I haven't touched this car. I never touched any of the cars when I play the settings. There's guys that will like squat out the suspension, make it really soft, and run low pressures. And like, yeah, if I want to keep up, I'll mess with that.
Right.
But I don't really mess with things, dude. Thank you. Actually, thank you for getting out of the way.
That
But
was cool.
I never actually mess with settings unless like dudes are getting away from me and I need to.
Right.
I think don't do that. Like I think just adapt. Like if other people are able to drive it as is, learn, figure it out, and drive it as is. Because I think if you're constantly changing that dynamic and how it's driving, that's your problem.
Yeah.
And you're never going to quite get it. You're kind of just making excuses or trying to put blame on that.
It's confronting it. They're emotionally confronted for the handful of ones that I've
right.
shared
And it's
with.
like it's not your fault. Honestly, like a lot of the people that haven't driven games like this and they're going for real driving, you need like 2 or 3 hours to really start figuring it out. But beyond that, to get really good, you need like days. So it's just how it is. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, everyone's human. You're okay.
Yeah,
you're not a lesser being for not being able to do it.
No,
in
I'm
2
just like a
minutes.
nerd. That's all. Like, don't worry about it. Try to get up on these guys.
Yeah, I know. You need to
Steady.
drop your pressure or something.
I think like we're pretty good on like the same speed. They're just a little bit further ahead. I
Okay.
probably could be cutting corners better and like actually getting in there.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, kind of getting in there.
We'll let it ride out with this. Well, thank you, Nick. This is great. I know
We have to
that.
ride along as well, of course.
Yeah,
We've got the event literally outside. We're
Yeah, that's
drifting
amazing.
on a video game, but it's out there.
Yeah, we'll check that out for sure. I'll bring the Osmo around so we can get a lap of what it is. He was brave.
Maybe I can meet this guy.
Hey, thank you, Kitty.
Who's that?
We got another follower dropping in.
Sweet.
I appreciate you. I always see you popping up live when I always see you going live. We'll have to jump on by, but thank you very much. This is epic.
Yeah, thank you. It's a
Sweet.
blast. And I love sharing this stuff and just talking drifting in general.
Awesome.
Yeah.